So it's only right that I get up here and snap about this today, because I'm repping New York. People are arguing about what is considered New York and what's not considered New York when you tell them that you're from New York. Granted, New York has 5 boroughs. We know that. We know that. We get it. So when someone says, "Oh, I'm from White Plains," or "I'm from Yonkers," or "I'm from Largemont, Mamaroneck," whatever. If it's something that is not the 5 boroughs, people say you're not from New York, and that's mind-boggling to me, because they say Westchester, which consists of all the cities that I just named, is considered upstate New York. How, Sway? How? You taking 95? You get off at exit 16, you're in New Row. You get off at exit 13, you're in the Bronx. So how is that considered upstate New York? You can literally walk to the Bronx, which is considered one of the 5 boroughs, from Mount Vernon. So how do you feel like that anything that's in Westchester is considered upstate New York? Now, for the states that are upstate New York, Rochester, Poughkeepsie, all of that stuff that's up there, granted, it's further up. But nevertheless, when you write your address and you state the city, after that, you're going to put New York. Now, if you're considered Manhattan or whatever the case may be, it would say New York, whatever. Either way, once your address states that the state that you're in is considered New York, you're from New York. So for the people, and it's usually people that's not from New York, is the ones who usually say, "Oh, if you're not from one of the 5 boroughs, you're not considered New York." Now, when people ask me, and crazy thing is, every time I have this hat on, not one person asks me if I'm from New York. If I have on a pair of Timbs, somebody don't ask me if I'm from New York. But when I open up my mouth, they say, "What part of New York you from?" I always just say, either I say New Row, because if I say Westchester, they would say, "Oh, Rochester, oh, you from upstate New York." No, I'm not from Rochester, I'm from Westchester. There's a difference, for one. And two, usually, like, if I just say New Row, some people will get it. "Oh yeah, I know what New Row, that's New Rock City." Some people don't. So I just say, "Yeah, Westchester right outside the Bronx," or whatever. That's how I usually say it. But I would never say I'm from New York City, because I'm not from New York City. I am from New York, the state. So miss me with all this bullshit that if you're not from one of the 5 boroughs, that you're not considered from New York. Like, my coworker is from Long Island. They be trying to say she's not from New York. Like, what? When she was writing her address when she lived in Long Island, it says New York at the end. And for the ones who are from New York, who is considering Westchester non-New York, miss me with that. Fuck y'all too at this point. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Now, if somebody's jacking they from New York City, okay, I can understand if you're saying that you're from New York City and you fucking was born and raised in White Plains. I can understand that. I definitely can. But you have never heard me say I'm from New York City. I barely tell people I'm from New York. And it's not because I don't love New York, because I love New York. New York is always going to be my heart. That's home. That's why I'm always there. That's why people in New York don't even know that I don't live in New York, because I'm always there. But the reason why I don't tell people that I'm from New York is because I don't want people to know my goddamn business. So if you're not from New York, then you don't need to know where I'm from. It's none of your business. But yeah, I just felt like that I had to, because I had to let a couple of people know on Instagram. And then I thought about it. I'm like, why am I explaining myself to you? Because where the fuck are you from? Now, I seen the YouTuber, the streamer, Oh God, I want to say his name, but I swear I'm gonna get this shit wrong. Casanet, I think his name is Casanet. I don't even know if that's how you say it, but I know he's from New York because I remember him saying that. I never did no research on him to find out if he really, what part of New York he from. But anyway, I know he did something out there and it was like a little riot or whatever the case may be. He got locked up. Cool beans. But he was one of the ones who was going off about how Westchester is upstate New York when you can literally walk to the Bronx where you may be from. I want to do the research. Hold on. Let me do the research right. Okay, so the Sag, because that's what he is, a Sag. This is from what Google told me. It says that he's from New York, raised in the Bronx, but then moved to Atlanta when he was at a younger age. And he's not that old. I think he's, damn, what did it say he was born at? See, I didn't even think about his age. I think he was born in 2001. Anyway, so he's still a little young. Moral of the story is, you're considered from New York. And you're one of the ones that's considering Westchester upstate New York. Like, I'm just trying to figure out why, because we don't have the subway and the 2 train and all of that. We just have the Metro North. Is that why we consider upstate New York? Like, I'm just trying to figure that out. When I could literally take the 42 to 241st, which is what? The Bronx. 1 bus ride. So, like, 1 bus route. So what are you saying? Anyway, like I said, don't jack. More of the story is, don't jack that you're from New York City if you're not from the 5 boroughs. Period. Point blank. Like, if your address, when you write your address or your childhood address, if you no longer live in New York, and the ending of the address, you put the city, whether it's Yonkers, New York, because I like how we're not upstate New York when you talk about DMX, when you talk about Mary J. Blige, when you're talking about the Locks. Ray Rice, we're not talking. We don't say, oh, Ray Rice is from upstate New York when he's from New Row. We're not saying DMX is from upstate New York and the Locks or Jadakiss and them is from upstate New York when you talking about them. Like, you're labeling them as from the city that they represent. They're not considered upstate New York. So again, if you're not from one of the 5 boroughs, but you're from Westchester, you can consider yourself from New York. Even if, and I still think that when you go up to Rochester and Albany and Poughkeepsie and all of that stuff up there, that is considered upstate New York. But again, when you write your address, it's not, you don't put Albany, upstate New York. You just put Albany, New York. So nevertheless, you're from New York. So ayo, shout out to all my New Yorkers. Okay, that's whether you're from the 5 boroughs, from Westchester. That's Westchester, because that's where I'm from. I'm from Westchester. Okay, or you're from anywhere else in New York. Cut the fucking noise, okay? Cut the fucking noise.